The 2023 Australian Open is all set to take place in January, and this year definitely won't feel the same without tennis legends Roger Federer and Serena Williams, who have announced their decision to permanently step back from the sport. However, it does seem like we may have a welcome addition. In this video, we'll be talking all about Djokovic and his involvement in the 2023 Australian Open. First up, will Djokovic participate in the tournament? The director of the Australian Open, Craig Tiley, has revealed that they intend to host a tournament that matches the ones held before the pandemic. The world has been moving on ever since the deadly virus shut everything down almost 3 years ago, and we're glad that the sport of tennis is following suit. Just this Wednesday, Tiley was interviewed at the Melbourne Victory in Business luncheon. He revealed that the team was on track to have all the top players back. This certainly hints that Djokovic will be part of the ensemble. There's no denying the fact that Tiley has always had a soft spot for Djokovic. Earlier this year, when the government wasn't permitting Djokovic to play, Tiley was the point of contact for the tennis champ. He tried his best to find a loophole for Djokovic, even suggesting that the government ease restrictions on people who had contracted the virus less than 6 months ago. They would have their antibodies and be immune for a certain period, so it definitely made sense. Needless to say, the Australian government didn't think so. Anyways, elaborating on the bomb he just dropped, Tiley said that the country's environment was very different from 9 months ago, when Djokovic wasn't allowed to play. For one thing, the traveling restrictions have been eased. Next up, why was Djokovic not allowed to play? Djokovic was all set to defend his title at this year's Australian Open. Needless to say, things didn't exactly go according to plan. Djokovic missed 2 major tournaments, the Australian and US Opens, because of his decision to not get vaccinated against COVID-19. Yep, that's right. The tennis champ made some personal decisions in choosing to sit out of those 2 tournaments, and possibly compromising his shot at being the greatest tennis player of all time. Earlier this year, Djokovic was making headlines when he dropped out of the Australian Open at the eve of the competition. The Australian government decided that the tennis champ may have disrupted civil order and undermined the country's pandemic response by entering the country without being vaccinated. They also added that his playing in the tournament would stoke anti-vaccine sentiment. The Siberian player was then hastily and messily deported for the public interest. In the absence of Djokovic, the title was transferred to Rafael Nadal, Djokovic's long-standing rival. Yup, that's right. Djokovic was actually deported. Now we know what you're thinking. If he wasn't vaccinated, how on earth did he get into Australia in the first place? This all began early in January. Djokovic had told the authorities that he would not be vaccinated and claimed that he had been given a medical exemption to bypass the COVID regulations. Djokovic didn't wait for a second and immediately hopped on a plane to make his way to Australia. However, while the tennis star was still in the air, reports emerged that everything wasn't as rainbows and sunshine as it looked. Turns out, there was a problem with his visa. His team had applied for the wrong document, which didn't support a medical exemption from vaccination. Someone definitely got fired for that. Djokovic was held up at Melbourne Airport and was eventually denied entry. His lawyers stepped in fast, though, and filed an appeal. The court case was a success. It was held that he was free to practice and participate in the tournament. But there's another plot twist here. Turns out there was a loophole in the law that actually gave the immigration minister, Alex Hawke, the power to personally intervene and cancel the visa. And that is precisely what this guy did, supposedly for the public interest. So now Djokovic's visa was canceled and he couldn't play. His lawyers filed another appeal against this decision. The case was taken to court, and a full bench unanimously ruled for Djokovic to be deported. Moving on, here's why he may be banned from playing this year. Now here's the thing. Even though traveling laws have been relaxed, Djokovic still might be banned from entering the country. Under Australian immigration law, when someone is deported, they cannot enter the country for 3 years, which would mean that Djokovic can't play at the Australian Open till frickin' 2024. Rules are made to be broken though, right? There's an exemption under the law where Djokovic can enter Australia if the immigration minister waives his ban on compelling and compassionate grounds. It's a mouthful, we know, but the bottom line is, Djokovic's career is in the hands of the immigration minister. Everyone's waiting on the edge of their seat for the decision to come out, with the tournament organizers trying to put pressure on the government. Djokovic says everything is out of his hands now, and all he can do is hope for a positive response. Next Next up, government change saves Djokovic. Now, we know what you're thinking. Djokovic is relying on the immigration minister to come in and save him. But wasn't it the immigration minister himself who canceled Novak's visa? Well, yes, but luckily for Novak, there's been a historic change of government. In May's elections, the Labour government came into office after 9 years of liberal conservative rule. We'll give the credit for this one to karma. The new immigration minister is a guy called Andrew Giles. He's the one who makes the decision now, and it could very well be that he has a different stance on this than his predecessor. At the French Open in May, Djokovic confirmed that he knew there'd been a change of government in Australia. However, he said he's not sure if that'll change the decision to let him play. Moving forwards, does Djokovic regret not getting vaccinated? The short answer to this is absolutely not. In an interview with BBC, the tennis champion revealed that he has absolutely no regrets. Yep, this is despite the fact that he wasn't allowed to play in two of the biggest tennis tournaments this year. He even missed out on the chance of getting his 22nd Grand Slam title. Novak said that he was sad that he couldn't play, but he was comfortable knowing that this was the decision he had made. He revealed that even when he made this decision, he understood the consequences, and he accepted them. This guy is definitely at peace. Next up, why is Djokovic so adamant about not getting vaccinated? Now we know what you're thinking. Is Novak an anti-vaxxer? Djokovic has flat out said that he doesn't support the anti-vax movement and doesn't want to be associated with them. Novak says that the decision-making principles of his body are more important than any title he could ever win. He said he wanted to be in tune with his body and was all for wellness, health, and nutrition. His decision not to get vaccinated was a personal choice, and he would always support the individual's right to choose what they put in their body. In an interview with BBC, Djokovic implied that he was hesitating because he felt the vaccine would not be healthy for him. He said, "It's really the principle of understanding what is right and what is wrong for you." He elaborated that he's always been very careful about what he puts in his body, be it supplements, food, or drink. He lives by the philosophy that everything he intakes should benefit and fuel him, and the vaccine just doesn't seem to pass the test. He point-blank said that if his stance on the vaccine stopped him from becoming the greatest tennis champion of all time, then that was simply the price he was willing to pay. So it looks like the tennis player is all set to give up his titles to stay true to his principles. With all of this said, the athlete has asked his fans to respect his decision, denying any further debate on the matter. Finally, let's look at Australia's current COVID situation. Australia is still reporting 5,000 to 6,000 new COVID cases every day. This is a somewhat alarming figure. However, despite this, travel restrictions have been eased up. As of July 2022, travelers to Australia no longer have to provide documentation of their COVID vaccination, which might just be the good news that we all needed to hear. Those who aren't vaccinated also won't need an exemption to enter the country. Seems like it's all clear for Djokovic on this front then. The only thing that's holding him back from playing at the 2023 Open is the 3-year ban that kicked in when he was deported earlier this year, and we are all anxiously waiting to see if the new immigration minister makes an exemption for him. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Djokovic will be permitted to play at the next Australian Open? Is he making a mistake by not getting vaccinated? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next one.